Actually, an activity that's gone on for, I believe, 9 years. Before I came to UMBC as the Dean of the College of Engineering and IT, and I really been pleased to have a chance to interact with some of you and really see your support of this activity. The Visionaries and IT Forum just doesn't happen. It takes a lot of effort and support from our departments and different parts of UMBC, but it also only happens because we've got good sponsors. And I would like to recognize Blue Sky Factory, City Financial, Constellation Energy Group, the Greater Baltimore Tech Council, Lockheed Martin, T. Rowe Price, and Xerox as sponsors of our activity today. And of course, another important connection that UMBC has had, and in this region we've had over the years, is strong support from Northrop Grumman. And you know, because our speaker this morning is coming from Northrop Grumman, I did want to highlight, you know, the numerous connections that also some of our other sponsors have, but particularly Northrop Grumman. Northrop Grumman has been a champion and a strong supporter of education and have done that through scholarships to many of our students. Actually, also, we're connected. We checked this out. I think we currently have about 120 of our UMBC graduates who are employed by Northrop Grumman. We also have graduate support of graduate students at UMBC in addition to undergraduates. And one thing that I do know is this whole important issue as we look toward the future about where will the people come from. Northrop Grumman has been a very strong supporter of K through 12 education at UMBC in the Baltimore, Washington region. But whenever I go across the nation and we're talking about how do we get the workforce that we need for the 21st century, Northrop Grumman is always a player there in helping us develop that workforce. So we're really thankful for that kind of support over the years. UMBC's benefited from that. And just a real short update on things that are going on in the College of Engineering and IT as well as UMBC. This past year, we're actually delighted to be recognized this past year in U.S. News and World Report as in the top 5 of up-and-coming national universities. That's actually a great thing for us. We think also it adds value to all of you. I had a chance to meet some of you who are alumni. It's adding value to your degree that we're recognized in moving forward that way. And we certainly hope that it's something that brings more high-quality students to UMBC. And we think it's working. Actually, I'm delighted to report that across the board in our College of Engineering and IT, more people are selecting our programs. All of our programs, all of our departments' enrollment is up. And that includes increases in the number of people in the IT fields to help us have this workforce for the future. Princeton Review also recognized UMBC as one of the best value colleges and universities in the nation, and also a place where we have one of the most diverse student populations, and that's great. Actually, if we talk about that, I also hope, thank everybody from business and industry to come here, but there's actually a number of UMBC students, at least when I was walking around, they seemed to be congregating in the back, but my word to them was try to use this opportunity later on to introduce themselves to you. This is part of what we call networking, and there are a number of seniors there, and you know, it can't hurt to form the right networks. So I'm really pleased at how UMBC and UMBC's College of Engineering and IT is moving forward, and you know, it's also through the engagement and interaction with people from business and industry and government in the region that helps us do that. Now, I am really delighted to be able to introduce Mr. George Haynes from Northrop Grumman. He's the he's Vice President and Chief Information Officer for Northrop Grumman Technical Services. He actually has been at Northrop Grumman for, since 1985, and his responsibilities actually result in providing IT solutions to about 1,800 or 18,000 employees in all 50 states, as well as 29 countries around the world. George is received his bachelor's degree in business management from Towson. He has an MBA from Loyola, I can't say it, Loyola College, and actually a master's degree in management information systems from University of Maryland University College, actually the biggest campus in the University of Maryland system. So I'm really delighted to introduce George and have him talk to us this morning about increasing IT effectiveness in a challenging economy. George?
I don't know if this is mic working. There it goes. Okay, so good. Hey, thank you for having me here. I'm really pleased to be here and be able to talk with everyone here. As Warren said, I'm the Vice President and Chief Information Officer for Northrop Grumman Technical Services. We stood the sector up about 3 years ago, and what we did was we looked at across the defense industry, the defense base, and said, where is the market going? And we recognized it's really going to be in the aftermarket defense business. So we stood up a sector that was really focusing on that. Since the inception of the sector, we went from about $1.5 billion to about 2.7 now. So it's a significant growth in our business, and it has created challenges for me as a CIO. But what I'm going to talk about today is the economic downturn and how it's affecting IT. There we go. So, you know, one of the things that's happened is, you know, with the economy, the way it's shifted, it has changed the way we do things in IT. So what I'm going to do, I'll kick this off with a little video, a little inspiration video. And unfortunately, it's not about the Ravens. It will be a little football scene. And my communications VP who created this video, I kind of slapped him around a little bit because I'm a huge Ravens fan, but it isn't about that. But what it is really about technical services and how we act in the environment.
What does it take to be a world champion? A world champion is a rare commodity, one not easily imitated, nor lightly regarded. But if a world champion could be manufactured, it would take one part preparation, a large dose of perspiration, a significant measure of pride, and constant performance. Can such traits be found inside a corporation? Champions are learned winners, talking a foreign tongue that is part sign language and part prophecy, predicting not only the future movements of their opponents, but also future victory for themselves. Likewise, technical services dedicates intense study and investigation to exploit strength against any potential competitor. Championships are first won on the practice field, where character, discipline, and persistence are forged. There is no glamour here, just selfless sacrifice and total commitment to the team. Technical services personnel exhibit the same dedication in their daily duties, out of the line, away from the public, and to a personal standard that continually rises above yesterday's task. Regardless of whether the team is up or down, heart keeps you in the fight, forcing one more ounce of strength from tired muscles, one more play in legs made lifeless by exhaustion, making possible one more chance to fill the gap for those who count on you. The pride of technical services is ever on display, seen by our customers on the front line, behind the scenes at home, and in the world press. It is the care, the attention and respect given to every task, no matter how large, no matter how small. A world champion shows up on every play, for every minute, and for every decision. A world champion is the embodiment of preparation, perspiration, and pride. And it is on display for all the world to see. Technical services is no different. With the world as an office, technical services is on the job 24/7, 365 days a year. Everything is done in full view of the customer. The total culmination of preparation, perspiration, and pride. Technical services is performance. If technical services were a championship football team, it would look like this. But technical services is not a football team. They do not play for medal trophies. They do not play for show. They do not play. They serve. They serve on a true field of sacrifice, supporting those who decide the fate of a nation. And this is no game. The story of technical services is a personal.
I never come here thinking this is just a job. This is a commitment, and one that I gladly take pride.
I don't care if it's the work I do on YouTube or the work our guys do who are deployed in the theater. All of us give everything we have to support our fighters.
If I'm not at my best every day, then someone in line is a first to protect me. A son or a daughter, protecting my family here at home. They deserve my best, always.
We have to constantly improve, constantly achieve world-class service. There's too much at stake not to.
The people we serve are my family, not just my team. What we're doing is bigger than all of us, but must depend on each other in a way that makes my life as an employee totally different than people in other industries.
We talk a lot about teams because it's true. We're only as strong as the next person. And I want that person to be as committed as I am. Anything less than that won't get it done, not here.
This is what I do, and I do it better than anybody I know.
Best in the world, you bet. With the people we support, nothing short of the best is acceptable.
We celebrate football teams as winners in life. But the men and women of the United States Armed Forces are the true heroes. And technical services is their champion, a repeat champion. We have to be. Because the people on this field put more on the line than just their reputation. And second place is not an option. We are technical services. We are one Northrop Grumman.
Well, that's my paid advertisement on technical services. So, hey, how many people out there did well in accounting or economics? That's great, because I'm going to call on you. Yeah. What we're going through in IT today is really a change. I'm going to present some numbers that are staggering. So for the guy who raised his hand out there that said he knew economics, what do you think 43% represents? It's the stock market loss, correct. In 2008, we lost 43% in the stock market. Since 2008, we've lost an additional 7%. That is affecting the way we do things in companies today. It's affecting the way we spend our money in IT and any other support function within a business. We've lost 2.6 million jobs in 2008. Not all those jobs were in construction or in fast food or anything like that. A lot of those jobs were in IT. So it's scary and it's a change that we're going through. Since 2008, we've lost an additional 1.2 million jobs. Yeah, I'd like to be the happy egg here, but I can tell you I'm not. The frowny eggs are the guys in the background who their budgets have been cut or frozen. 74% of IT professionals, according to Gartner, are either freezing their budgets or reducing their budgets in 2009. I know personally I was challenged to cut some budget, and I can tell you I don't have a huge budget to start with, so it makes it tough. I was not asked to do less, I was just asked to cut the budget. 72% of IT heads plan to postpone discretionary IT projects in 2009. That's scary, because it's investment. I mean, basically all you do is keep the wheels going at this given point. And the future is getting scarier for companies if we're not investing. Additionally, 69% of CIOs either believe that they're going to reduce or freeze their hiring. Again, that's a scary thought for those guys coming out of schools today, because where are they going to go? Just a little takeaway from that is, hey, I graduated back in '82 from Towson during the same type of era, and I was scared to death. I had gotten a degree in accounting, thought that was the right way to go, found out that the market was flooded with accountants, and I had to go off and do something differently. So there will be opportunities for those students out there who are looking for them. But there's going to be different. They're going to be skill sets. Going to be looking. Companies are going to be looking for different skill sets in IT professionals. So the real question is, what are we going to do? We're going to be forced to do things with less resources, with less money. So it's better. It's basically the better, faster, cheaper scenario. Used to be you could do 2 of the 3. Going forward, we're going to have to do all 3. This is a scary thought because you got a guy standing up on a cliff here, and basically you can be paralyzed by what's going on, or you can make some real decisions. You know, I've been on this cliff before, and I've actually thought about jumping. And I thought jumping was the way out. Jumping is not always the way out. It's really asking the right questions of your teams, the folks working for you, on what can we do differently. One of the things I've learned in my job over the past 3 years is I don't know everything. If I thought I knew everything going into this job, I failed the moment I walked in. And what I do is I challenge the management team underneath me to go ask the right questions to the people below them. You'll be surprised the guys who really are touching the work at the day-to-day level are the ones who really make some really good decisions that will change the way you do your business. We, in technical services over the past few years, have reduced our IT spend year over year and produced more year over year. So it's a staggering thought that you can do this. So chaos. How do we take and turn this, which is everybody wants something from you as a CIO or an IT professional, into this? Well, what you have to do is you have to align your priorities. You have to be more in the supply and demand side and really focus more on demand. You know, I can tell you, as a CIO and my peer CIOs at Northrop Grumman, we've very much over the past probably 8 years focused more on the supply side. Money was, was there. Everybody wanted something, and hey, you just supply. Well, I have to learn how to say no now, because I have a CFO who is holding me accountable to a budget. I have a president who holds me accountable to a budget, and if I'm going to hit those targets from a financial perspective, I have to be able to challenge back on some of the things that people are requesting of me. I can tell you right now, we have blackberries in our business. I've recently just put out a policy on who should get a BlackBerry. Because unfortunately for me, I give someone a BlackBerry, but the recurring spend, the recurring cost of that BlackBerry is what drives my cost. How do we remain relevant as a CIO or an IT professional going forward? I can tell you within Northrop Grumman, I have my new boss, who was a sector CFO, is now the corporate CIO and works for the new, and we just report now to the corporate CFO. So think about where I'm going here. We're very much financially focused going forward. So my new boss is out in California today talking with all of his previous peer CFOs and his new boss on where IT needs to be going for this corporation. And a lot of it's really focusing on cost. We spend about $1.3 billion a year in IT at Northrop Grumman, $34 billion company. The question you got to ask yourself is, are we spending the right mix of the $1.3 billion? And when we started evaluating that $1.3 billion, we broke it down and we realized that we're probably spending about 80% of our dollars on recurring spend. That's probably not prudent going forward. We need to figure out how to reduce the recurring spend. We work with our suppliers, and our suppliers help us figure out how to reduce some of that spend. A lot of times, because we were a merger and acquisition type company back in the 90s and 2000 era, where we just grew through buying things, we had a lot of licenses, a lot of applications sitting out there that we didn't understand what we really had and how we could use it. So we work with our suppliers today, and they help us understand what we have and how to use it more effectively. So we've renegotiated many of our licensing agreements to more of an enterprise agreement, and it actually reduces our cost and some of our overhead associated with it. We need to be more decisive and resourceful going forward. We need to react and make faster decisions. You don't need 100% of fact to make a decision. If you're waiting for that 100% of fact, you're going to be waiting. 80% is probably good enough. I mean, you're going to have to realize that you're going to make some bad decisions as a CIO or as an IT professional. It's probably okay. As long as you're making that 65% accurate, you're going to probably be okay in the end. You're not going to lose your job. You need to build more of an effective enterprise that can meet the current and future challenges. Well, the effective enterprise that can meet the current and future challenges. I just got to show you some economic numbers. What you have to ask yourself is, what are our challenges going forward? Our challenges going forward is, how do I reduce cost? And not necessarily IT cost. Gardner had a chart a few years ago that I saw, and it was a pie chart. And if you looked at the IT spend of the pie chart, it represents about 4% of the total cost of the company. Well, if you think about that, every time you're challenged as an IT professional or CIO to go cut your cost, you're cutting 10% off of 4%. Are you really getting anything? Wouldn't you be better off cutting 10% off of the 96%? Going out and looking at the business processes of the business and helping them drive their cost? You need to act like a business owner. I can tell you that at Northrop Grumman, internal IT is a cost center, not a profit center. You need to think and act like you're a profit center. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself and your team, if I would make this decision, would I do it the same way if I was the one reaping the rewards of the profit? Because I guarantee the answer is different. The last thing is you have to consider the financial side and impact of what you do. You have to actually work and think like a CFO. That's why when I asked the question about accounting and economics right from the start, there are the type of courses as students going forward that you're going to need to be proficient in, because you're going to have to talk that language better with your business than you ever have in the past if you really want to get the budgets that you need to actually run your business. So, this chart, we have, it looks like it cut off again, so sorry, but we need to take our technology and modernize it for our operations. We need to take our people and give them the right skills going forward. Now, do we send everybody to school? No. You have to look at the skill sets you're going to need going forward. I'm trying to think, 2.0 web technologies are the thing of the future. It's the thing of today, but it's also the thing of the future. Are we investing that skill set in our people and training them on that? Or are we buying that technology outside? I can tell you within defense companies, 2.0 web technology scares the living bejesus out of us. Because there's a lot of things as a defense contractor that we have to be very cautious with. A lot of the information that we have has to be secured at all times. But now I have a different situation. I've got young students or graduate folks coming into my company who are so used to using these type of technologies that they sit with us for about a year and they leave. So we had to open that parameter, and we have to ask ourselves, how can we do this? And so my IT security folks are always saying no, my technologists are saying yes, and I've got to balance that. We have to begin to have a sharper focus and align our business better. We have to increase our business impact. So as management teams, we have to act and think differently. And it is a change, because I can tell you, as I said, I've been CIO for 3 years. Prior to that, I was an IT program director for about 5 years. So I've been in IT at a leadership level for about 8 years. And the 5 years prior to the technical services, I had discretionary spend at my leisure, as I call it. I mean, I had an organization that literally said, what do you need? Write the check, give it to them. I just don't need to come to see me. Just, you go do what you need to do. Well, under technical services, my hat spun totally differently, and I had to think differently, because they said, what do you need? I said this. They said, well, you get about 1/5 of that, and go figure out how you do all this. And so it changed dramatically. So at technical services, my top 3 initiatives are business processes for 2009. Improving business process. Not necessarily only my business process, but my business's business process. My folks are so embedded within the business today that oftentimes they're not considered part of the IT organization, they're considered part of the organization they support. We're in the middle of doing some transitions within the company. The IT program manager that works for me is actually now the program manager of the transition programs within the company for the technical services business. She is not there doing the IT piece of it, she's running the whole program. It's a change, because you have to get the best person in the job no matter where they're coming from. But in the way of business processes, you've got to really ask yourself, those processes were developed how many years ago? Are they the same process you need going forward? Can you lean that process out? Is there handoffs in that process that you can change? We're looking at, right now, within Northrop Grumman, our desktop services program. We procure the desktops from an OEM. The desktops would go to a VAR. VAR would do some work on the desktops. We come inside, we insource the actual handoff work that's done on the inside, and then we come to IT solutions to manage from there. Well, I just talked about 3 different organizations basically running with a desktop. I've read an article recently where a couple companies went out and they got tired of being in the desktop business from an IT perspective. So they literally went to their business and said, look, one of the things we should go do is just give you the schematics of the desktops we want you to have, or PCs we want you to have, and you go buy them from anywhere. And you negotiate the warranty agreement that you want, and you take it back to the supplier that you bought it from. That's revolutionary if you think about it, because you basically let go of the whole desktop process. Well, what we're going to do is we're looking at actually competing this and giving it to whomever. They're going to run the whole thing from womb to tomb. And that's a change for us, because now we have to let go. Reducing enterprise cost. A couple of things we've done in the last few years is we've looked across the enterprise and we've asked ourselves some strategic questions: is why do we have this? Can we do it differently? One of the biggest things we've done over probably the last 5 years is our ERP systems. We have synergized with 47 ERP systems within Northrop Grumman down to 3. And all 3 are SAP, and there's reasons why we have 3, because of the one's in a classified or a nuclear facility. The other is running truly manufacturing and engineering environment, and the other is the services ERP. So we don't need as much on the services side as we do with the manufacturing. Now we're going to actually take a second look at, can I take the services side and collapse it to the manufacturing one for the pieces we need? But we are really scaling back on all the infrastructure and operations we do and becoming a cleaner operation as across the company. Third one is improving workforce productivity. I talked about letting go. One of the things I learned the hard way very quickly was I had to let go as a manager, as a leader. If I was going to tell everyone what to do down to the detail level, I really didn't need them. And the more I let go, the better we became. Now I have folks come to me and say, well, you don't really need to know this. I said, well, let's be careful with what I need to know and what I don't need to know, but why don't you go run with it and then tell me what it is that we did. And what I found by letting go and holding the folks at the very lowest level accountable is that things get done faster, things get done better, and things are getting done cheaper. You don't need as many handoffs. I can tell you that within Northrop Grumman, one of my fellow sectors, not electronics guys, but there's a lot of handoffs and a lot of mother may I. And that mother may I creates a step that you really don't need. So when you start really improving your workforce productivity, it's letting go and letting them do what they need to do. And give them the training and the ability to perform. And then get out of the way. So I know everybody thought I was going to come in here and talk about technology. Well, I'll talk a little bit about technology. Some of the things we're doing within Northrop Grumman Technical Services around technology to improve our processes and productivity. Reducing cost. What have we done in the last few years to reduce costs? Well, like I said, I worked with my suppliers and I started asking the right questions. And what I found was, in the way of networking, well, because of the way the technical service was put together, we were taking the pieces of different businesses out of all the other sectors and put into one. Well, we wound up looking at the one now in a different perspective. We found sites or businesses where we had in the field where we had multiple network lines coming in. And we had to ask the right questions. If I could cut the multiple network lines, could I put in a faster, better network at less cost? And the answer was yes. And our suppliers actually helped us with this because they saw our mistakes. I looked at in the way of reducing costs. I looked at voice over IP. You know, sometimes you guys ask yourself, is the business case really worth going to voice over IP or keeping on the PBX system that I had before? But if you're going to replace the PBX system, right, it may be prudent at this point in time to cut the strings and go to voice over IP. So one of the things we did was, in our major sites, not all of our small sites, because like I said, Warren said, we're in 50 states and 29 countries. Well, in some of these states, I have a site of 5 people. Well, it really probably doesn't make sense to go put a voice over IP in that site. But where we have major sites, we've actually gone to put voice over IP in. And what we've noticed is our long distance costs have gone down dramatically, and our support costs have gone down. Because one of the things that costs money, especially the PBX, is moving the phone. Every time someone moves, you gotta go back into the switch and change the number and do everything you have to do. Well, now a person takes his phone, literally picks it up off his desk, unhooks it, walks it to where he wants, hooks it back in, and they're up and running. So it has saved us money. Consolidation. We have really looked at consolidating across the company and within technical services. Very first thing I did was I asked my director of operations is, where do I have opportunity to reduce the consolidation? I said, I got servers all over the place. Why do I need all these servers? Are they being utilized? So the very first thing he went and did was did a study on the servers, found that most of the server environment that I had out there was being utilized at about 20%. 20% isn't efficient. It's inefficient. I said, how do I take that 20% and get to 80% on the servers and reduce the number of servers? And oh, by the way, isn't there something we have called strategic data centers going on in Northrop Grumman? Why do I have the servers even in any of my buildings? So we began to look at them, virtualize where we can, reduce, and move. And now, pretty much, I have maybe a handful of Altair servers sitting out in the environment. But most of the server environment that I have today for technical services is sitting in one of our strategic data centers that is consolidated, and it's run through a lean process. We had McKinsey come in and help us understand how to do lean on the server environment that actually reduced our total cost to operate these things. Leveraging enterprise solutions. Again, I'll go to ERP again. When I took over technical services, I had 7 ERP systems. The moment I walked in, interviewed with the sector president, he asked me for a roadmap the day I interviewed of how I'm going to change this sector. Gave him a roadmap and told him it's going to take me about 3 years to really understand what we have, from an ERP thing, and we'll have at that point, we'll have a roadmap. A year into the job, he goes, well, where's your roadmap? He goes, I want it done by next year. So I had basically a year to move all of our ERP systems to one ERP system. I wouldn't say we got there. We were able to get 90% of it to one. A few of our programs had to stay on a different ERP, one of the other ERP systems. We're down to 2 today, and now we're looking at can we actually move to 1 in the future. But it was a dramatic move and something we had to do fast because we realized it was costing us too much money to be on too many systems. System automation and streamlining. Again, talked a little bit about Alteryx. We're using Alteryx today to understand all the different software and applications in our environment. But the other thing we're using Alteryx today for is actually doing our patching of our environment. And we're down to a 24-hour patch across an environment that spans 120,000 people across the company. And that's pretty radical if you think about it, because again, Northrop Technical Services in 50 states, Northrop Grumman's in all 50 states as well, and we're also in the 29 countries. So we have to really get everything patched quickly. I think we're at like a 98% patch level across the company. That, to me, it's fairly dramatic, and it's kept us very secure. Portfolio management. I've talked about economics and accounting. But one of the things we had to do as IT leaders is actually eat our own dog food and run our business more like a business. So we went out and bought a tool called Clarity, and we loaded all of our projects, we loaded all of our applications into the Clarity tool, and we run our business as a whole, as a portfolio now. And we started asking the right questions. Before we were running in silos, and those silos were actually costing us money. So now we run it at an enterprise level, and we start asking, okay, well, you're going to do this project. Well, the sector over here has already done it. Why are you doing it? Why don't you just go use what they've done? So then you eliminate things, and you actually reduce your cost, and you increase your discretionary spend. IT is a competitive advantage. I know that Warren asked you guys to take off your BlackBerries, or turn them off actually. I can tell you a story about 10 years ago that I'll go back to as IT is a competitive advantage. Northrop Grumman was probably one of the first to go out and use BlackBerries. Now I can't take claim for the IT group going off and doing this. One of the young engineers that we had at the time saw an ad in a magazine about this new device called the BlackBerry. He went off and brought it in. Got me in a little bit of trouble because that was when I first started in IT and I was getting beat up about it, so I partnered with him. But he took the BlackBerry device, took the server software, put it on a laptop, and we're in the middle of a proposal activity against our competition. And underneath the table, we had our GMVP sitting there messaging back and forth, answering questions to themselves with the government, and the competition didn't know what we were doing at that time. We won that proposal because we took the BlackBerry and used it more as a competitive advantage versus just a texting tool. Big focus for TS going forward is supply chain. We're a logistics type business. One of the things in the way of supply chain is we started asking ourselves from a business perspective is how do we run our business better? So we went and we worked with the Air Force and the Army and understood where they were going with their systems. Then, because we do internal partnering, we supply it to the internal customer as well. We asked our internal customers, some of the bigger sectors, where are you going? And we made sure that everyone was aligned in the supply chain. So we're buying the same tools and using the same tools as our big C customers, we call it. Last one's selective innovation. I talked a little bit about the Web 2.0 tools. We have a group within Northrop Grumman where we have, it's called the Engineering Utilization Council. And there's some young engineers coming, probably 2-3 years out of college who are really on the cutting edge. And we are now partnered with them to understand some of the technologies that they want to use. Virtual worlds, different types of cell devices, the iPhone, things of that nature. And what is it we can really bring into the company and use because of the security issues we have to deal with. So we have looked at these tools and we're selectively using them. A big thing that, as I say, was groundbreaking for Northrop, not for everyone, because I know Lockheed uses it already, was a wiki. Well, we had a heck of a time getting a wiki stood up in Northrop Grumman because of all the issues associated around the legal issues. Not because of the technology issues, the legal issues associated with it. To finally get communications to the legal at the corporate office and say, yeah, we can have this now. So, again, selective innovation is, you're going to use tools where it makes sense, but you have to ask yourself, will I really get the value out of the end? So, I'm going to close on in a few seconds here. But here's a note that I'd like everybody to take the time to read, because there's an underlying message in this note that we all need to walk home with. Okay? Do you understand our business? From your customer's perspective, do you understand their business? Because if not, you may fail. I'll tell you, you will fail. If you don't understand the customer that you're supporting today, and you're not really embedded with the customer, and if you're really in the back end of IT, you're the legacy IT managers, I'll call it, you're going to fail. I've talked with a few other companies recently, and the biggest problem they have with CIOs of past and they've let go of is this. They're not ingrained, they're not in the day-to-day business of the business. They can't talk the business. So it's a change as IT professionals, as CIOs. Thank you. Now, I'll entertain questions. Anyone?
You spend a lot of time and obviously a lot of effort identifying expenses and costs that you control and better ways of doing business. Do you spend an equal amount of time looking for the business benefits? You talk about being embedded, figuring out how to make those businesses better even if they don't turn out to.
Absolutely. To go to the nth degree, I am so partnered with the business at Technical Services that we have a strategic team, and we talked about this with a few folks earlier, of 5. And as a CIO, I sit on that team. Just to give you a little heads up as how much I'm part of the business. Probably after a year of being in the business, they moved all the real estate and facilities operations under me. And now they're talking about moving security under me. And I have engineering under me. So when you talk about being partnered with the business, I am the business. So, other questions? Yes, sir.
Have you looked at, as you try to reduce your costs, going green and the value of that?
Yeah, we are very much focused on going green as a company, but green for the right reasons. Like I said, we moved to strategic data centers. We have about 120 data centers across the company. And our focus is to get to 4. Our new corporate boss, the CFO, has asked why we can't get to 2. So we'll probably look at that going forward. But one of the things we do is run these data centers very efficiently. We look at PCs and we work with the suppliers to ensure that we're getting the best efficiencies out of the PCs from an electricity perspective. From a facilities perspective, I've literally gone into the buildings, many of the buildings, and rewired the buildings to put in lighting systems that actually shut off on their own. So, Northrop Grumman is very focused on going green, but again, for the right reasons. We're not going to just arbitrarily go down this bandwagon of going green. Yes, any other questions? Yes, sir. Hey, John.
You mentioned the Clarity tool.
Yes.
And I'm wondering how that was implemented or how you went about identifying everything that executes or everything you consider an application.
Okay.
You're in 50 states.
Yeah. Well, we have all of our applications used to sit in a database for a repository of what we had, and it was called eSharp. So the application understanding of all of what we had was already there. We already knew all the applications. We just had to look at it from, okay, what applications does sector X have versus sector Y? And so we put that in and we started looking at it that way. And then we started asking ourselves, when we were doing the rationalization, and I I can tell you from technical services, one of the things first thing I did was ask my CT to go out and look at this from a different window. And he came back and showed me this picture of collaboration tools. I have 6 different collaboration tools. And then I brought in the business directors to sit down with me and say, guys, you're running a business, you want to collaborate. I'm going to ask you a question. Here's the chart behind me. I point to it. I said, you got 6 different collaboration tools. How are you ever going to collaborate? I said, they don't talk to each other. So I said, you need to get down to a minimum 2. I said, 1 would be preferable. But when you start doing those type of analogies and you have the business involved with you to make those decisions, they start seeing why they need to go do these things. Now, in the way of looking at the portfolio tool itself, we began to put all the applications in the tool that we pretty much migrated what we had in our database over. And then we started looking at our future spend, as we call it, in projects. We started putting that in the tool. And we started looking at it across the spectrum to make sure we were doing the right things right. The tool is again, it's just a tool. It's really about the leadership sitting down as a leadership team and asking themselves the right questions. Because a lot of times there is logic why Sector X needs this tool versus Sector Y using this tool. I mean, I have in situations like I said, I saw a lot of people. We have compliance issues we have to deal with the government. We have contractual issues we have to deal with our customers. So some of the tools we use are required by the customer. Some are required by the compliance. Yes, sir.
How far in advance do you plan for, say, future IT capability, given, I'm sure there's expectation of growth, getting into new markets, offering new services, and how does that all align with the technology plan?
Well, we do our annual operating plan and budgets. We start back in July for the following year. So basically, we finish doing one, we start all over again. But we do a 3 to 5 year roadmap. 3 years is the realistic roadmap, 5 years is the futuristic roadmap. And we start planning in that capacity to say, okay, where are we going to be going? Because as all you guys know, IT changes quickly. So I plan for 5 years out, well, 3 years out it's going to change. But we start doing it that way to start having a visual understanding of where we want to be and where we want to drive the business to go. One of the things that we have learned the hard way is that IT needs to be helping driving the business more than it needs to be sitting waiting for the business. So we're really focused on helping them understand where they need to be, especially if you saw some of the technologies in the background other than the football game. Northrop builds very high-end technologies. So if we're helping them understand where the solutions are coming from the suppliers in the background, we start driving them in that direction. Yes, sir.
Kind of to add on to his comment, now that you're being pulled under the CFO umbrella, are you looking, and you've done a wonderful job in 1 year to cut things back, what are you doing as far as new ROI methodologies to look going forward?
I haven't actually thought of it that way. We do, as I'll call it, a cost-benefit analysis. We do an ROI analysis, net present value analysis, on all the projects we do. But I mean, if I was trying to do an ROI on futuristic spend, I haven't tried that yet.
Okay.
So maybe that's something I want to go explore.
Yeah, I mean, psychologically, we're listening, we're reading all the newspapers. We know things are bad, but
Right.
we need to take the psychological side, move it forward, and go. We need to invest
Well,
as opposed to.
that was what I was driving to in the very beginning. So,
Right.
Again, north of 1.3 billion in IT spend as a company. 80% of that is recurring spend. So what we really need to do is not ask for more than 1.3 billion. What I need to do is figure out how to get the recurring spend down and take and increase the discretionary spend for future needs.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Two questions. First one is, how do you determine whether you centralize or decentralize IT management? And the second question is, when you look at the portfolio management, what statistics or criteria do you consider to improve your IT management?
Okay. Well, the first question is centralizing versus decentralizing. That's something we juggle with every day. And, depends on who you actually talk to. Now, I know that the new corporate CFO who now owns IT under him, he's pretty much he's going to want to centralize as much as possible. For me as a CIO at a business level, I want it decentralized. So you have the yin and yang, and you're always pulling back and forth. And if you can explain positioning with your boss, you usually can come to a happy medium. I know I didn't answer your question, but that's kind of where we are. We can go back and forth quite often. And in the way of the portfolio, we use the MIT measures the way that they use portfolio management. We worked with the folks out of MIT to actually come up with the way we measure. We put that into the system. Is that a perfect system? No. So we've had to change it a little bit to fit Northrop Grumman business, but pretty much we do the weighting and all that with these things. And at the end of the day, for the projects we actually invest in, it weights up and we have a cutoff. And that's how we go about doing business. We run it pretty much like how you would run your portfolio of your investments. Other questions? So,
your ratio of revenue to IT spend is about 3.8% of revenue.
that's Northrop Grumman as a whole.
Northrop Grumman as a whole.
Yes.
How does that flow down to, like say your technical services division?
I'm about 1.8%. So when you start taking and factoring that in, greater Northrop Grumman is probably closer to 4%.
Okay. Do you have any kind of insight into what other industry,
Yeah, we look at this all the time. But the real question is those metrics really valued? I mean, okay, Gordon says in aerospace and defense we should run about 3.5 to 4%, which, as you just said, we're at 3.8, so we're right in the happy medium. Is that really good? I mean, just because Gordon says that's the average, is that good? Is it good 5% or is it good 2%? How do you know? And where do you want to spend your money? So, I don't know that there's a real answer to that question. I know that we try to justify our budgets using those metrics many times, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure that there's a real answer.
Relative to the discussion that we just had about percentage of IT spend versus the total revenue stream, and also the discussions that were had earlier in terms of ROI, when you look at the ROI, and one of the things that you mentioned was the efficiency gains in terms of accountability of the rest of the business. Does that factor into the ROI so that when you're looking at a project cost and a project value, you're really looking at the value to the business, even though the cost is coming out of IT?
Yes. If you don't, this is a real benefit. And what you have to do is, if you really are a partner with the business, you're going to do the ROI, you're going to identify where the gains are going to be made, and then you're going to sign up. And it isn't just you as the CIO signing up, it's whoever else is going to be involved in gaining those benefits has to sign up. So, we have a term we use within Northrop Grumman called 2 in the box. And we really do believe it. It's you and whoever the partner is that's asking you to do this. Many of this actually real benefits. Any type of IT project is really the business side. So absolutely, yes. We do a statement of work, we do the ROI, and we actually identify how they're going to make the savings. And if they say it's going to be a head count, fantastic. Sign right here, tell me how many heads you're going to cut. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that it took you about 3 years to analyze your disparate ERP systems with the whole consolidating them.
No. I said that I asked for 3 years. I was given about 6 months.
Well, the question is, in doing your analysis, did you find that for the cost savings you gained, there were some trade-offs in terms of functionality, particular contract requirements, or anything of that nature?
No. Northrop Grumman had a system at another sector they call it OneSource, but it's basically a compilation of SAP for financials and PeopleSoft for HR. And when I started doing the evaluation of it, after I've gotten all the requirements down and understand what it is, and I was really going to have to go tackle, we went and looked at systems, and then we looked at that system. So we were able to merge onto an existing system that already existed, and the savings was dramatic for us because the recurring spend for us went down dramatically. I mean, there was an initial non-recurring piece that we had to foot. At the end of the day, the recurring piece took it, offset that within 2 years. Any other questions? So I guess this will be my final one.
Where does the requirement for IT projects come from?
Where does the requirements for an IT project come from? some internal IT projects, and that comes from us. But 95% of all projects that we're doing for the business is really coming from the business, from that business partner within the business. In many cases now, because we're so partnered with businesses, actually with our external customers. We're doing work, IT work for our external customers in many cases. So, thank you.
George, thank you very much. Delighted to have you here. So that you remember us at UMBC and addressing our forum this morning, I'd like to hand you a UMBC jacket.
Fantastic, thank you.
And we really do thank you for actually this great presentation about wonderful Q&A.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can come back again. I was actually, I think, giving a little bit of incorrect information when I was walking around before we started. Our next Visionaries in IT breakfast is scheduled for Thursday, May 12th. Our speaker then is going to be Mr. Rich Lechner, Vice President, Energy and Environment at IBM. We had a question about green. And the topic is going to be Smarter Planet, Sustainability, and the Role of IT. So again, thank you for coming this morning. Please come again in another couple months. And I believe that means our breakfast meeting is adjourned, so it's networking time. Thank you very much.